Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and our show today is the United Kingdom News and Culture with updates on the royal family. We're super excited to have you here. And of course, as you know, if you've been watching, I am not here by myself. I'm here with a fabulous panel of people. Let's welcome them, starting with DIANN FLOYD BOEHM. DIANN is a co-host. She's a talking head, an elevated listener, and she's an internationally world-renowned author, as well as the queen of networking. Hello.
Hi, Dr. Jacalyn. Good morning. It's going to be a great show. Thank you.
Absolutely. I'm super excited for this show and for the rest of our esteemed colleagues. Let's welcome Mr. Ian Pelham Turner. He is our expert correspondent and political analyst with a billion worldwide reach. Welcome to the show, sir.
Good afternoon from London, and it's sunny. I can't believe it. You know that it's either the windows have been cleaned or it's brighter in the room already.
All the above. Let's welcome Mr. Simon MacDonald. He's our expert correspondent. He's also a fisheries consultant, television presenter, and celebrity chef. Hello.
Well, hello, and from an even sunnier Scotland as well. I tell you, it's just beautiful. We have a fantastic arrangement going on here just now because it rains at night, but it's sunny during the day. Now, how's that for organization?
There you go.
That's perfect. Absolutely. And we want to say hello to our dear friend and team member, Helena Chard. Helena, we miss you, and we look forward to seeing you hopefully next week when we're back. So there's a lot of buzz going on in the news. I know here in the States, there's a lot of talk about the president's son, a number of other things that are going on. What's going on in your part of the world?
Well, first of all, it's going to be the H&M show today. So Harry and Meghan are back in the news. But also, so first of all, it's Harry's 37th birthday today. But according to some sources, Harry has split from Meghan for a little while, wanting to find a solace in something, and is staying in a hotel. Other correspondents are saying, no, this is not true, and that they're just as strong together as they are before. And one of the most interesting things today is that the royal family have acknowledged that it's Harry's 37th birthday, and they've put some smiling photographs of Harry up on their websites to talk about his 37th birthday. So try and work that one out, if you will, because, you know, we get, as royal correspondents, we get all sorts of are they, aren't they, you know, will they, won't they, and there's so much going on. And I think the reality at the moment is that with Harry and Meghan, I was having quite a deep conversation with a Canadian professor the other day who didn't like Meghan at all. But as I was still saying to her at the same time, the reality at the moment is, I think for me personally, I want the whole of the family to come back together again because I think it's very, very important for Britain. But I know that it's like quite a situation in America now where at one stage they were very popular, and then now that they're wandering around what to do. Some of the rumors are coming out that Harry is fed up with Hollywood, and he wanted people like Vladimir Putin on one of their podcasts. Well, that would have been an interesting one. And Meghan said no, or it might have been whoever platform they were on was saying no as well. So I look at things at the moment, and you know what? It's like a cauldron in the royal news right now, because you're never quite sure what they're going to do next.
Wow. So Harry's 37 today, and he's in a hotel by himself.
This is one of the rumors. I doubt it for 1 second, quite honestly, because you know, with all these things going on, it would really fuel the rumor mill totally, that if he was on his own on his 37th birthday. I don't get that. I think the reality is that even to sort of say that they were having time out, I don't know. You know, I think, you know, with anything these days, it is difficult to have relationships, and the type of relationship that they have in the spotlight all the time, you know, it makes it even more difficult. And as I used to say about Buckingham Palace and the royal family, you know, quite honestly, the leaks that used to come out of the royal family from Buckingham Palace all the time, you know, I mean, you could walk down a row of correspondents and each one would tell you a different, this is what's really happening, you know. Nobody knew. This is the reality, you know, and you would just, you know, you'd speak to someone, they would say something has happened, blah, blah, blah. You go down to the next person, oh, no, that's totally different, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And so in the end, I think the thing that I always do nowadays is, although I'm a royal commentator and so is Helena, and so I'm, you know, Helena is missing out this afternoon, but I know as we're both royal commentators, we're supposed to comment on these things. But in reality, at times, it is better just to wait and see what happens, because trying to create guesstimates over what might be happening next is absolutely impossible.
That makes total sense to me, especially because from what I understand, that sometimes at least the Hollywood stars actually pay to have things put in magazines so they can get a little flurry with their name, and then, you know, it's all retracted. So smart to wait and see what really happens.
Yeah. And I'm not sure.
Curious,
Is the royal family in Scotland now, Simon?
It's about time for them to come, but I believe Andrew is the one that usually comes up first. And there was a bit of a rift going on there because the king turned around and said, well, in actual fact, no, we're making more money by allowing people coming in. I think this is all part of his cutbacks and try and get the coffers filled up a little bit. But I think Andrew was not very pleased that he couldn't come for his his own stay at Balmoral earlier than the others. But Charles and Camilla are due to come imminently now. We've got the Braemar Highland Gathering in August, and that is always a great fixture on the royal calendar. So this is in Scotland just now. It's Highland Games season. I was actually at the Inverary Highland Games at Inverary Castle just the other week. It's just not far up the road from where I am. And it's one of the big Highland Games events. Absolutely fantastic day. Beautiful sunshine as well. The weatherman, who was obviously sponsored by the English Tourist Board, said it was going to rain all day, but here we were. It was absolutely glorious sunshine. So everybody had a fantastic time. The Highland Games are like no other games because we have events there called the heavies, which in the heavy events, this is tossing the caber is one of the big ones, and they have the World Championship caber tossing event at the Inverary Highland Games. Tossing the caber, it's you got to be pretty strong for this, because effectively it's like a telegraph pole. It's about 18 feet long or 20 feet long, and about that in diameter of a solid pine pole. And you pick this up to the base and you run a few steps with it, and then you toss it up in the air. And the idea is that you to get it to land on the ground and roll 180 degrees out from where you are. So phenomenal strength required, but it's always a big draw card at any Highland Games. So the Braemar gathering is really a coin a phrase, a jewel in the crown of Highland Games events. And Her Majesty the Queen never ever wanted to miss the Braemar gathering, and and King Charles is likewise. He absolutely loves it. It's a fantastic event.
It sounds like a lot of fun.
Oh, it is.
I can't even imagine trying to I'd be like this, trying to lift it up this way, much less trying to throw the thing.
You couldn't lift it. I mean, I couldn't lift it, not with the greatest intention. It is an incredibly heavy piece of kit. And if it's been a wet day, then of course wood absorbs water and it gets even heavier. But they have all sorts of other things, like throwing the 56-pound weight, and it's over a big high bar above you. So you toss this up, and you have to get out the way pretty quickly, because this thing comes down to land very fast. There's shot putting, which is now, of course, it's an Olympic sport as well. Disc throwing, and then the heavy hammer throwing, which is like a huge big sledgehammer, but with a big cast iron ball end to it, and and they throw this thing for a long distance. But it's a bit like the Whiskey Olympics as well at the Highland Games. I mean, there's plenty of that available all day long, I can assure you.
Is it too late for us to start training?
Yeah, you would be great, Dr. Jacalyn.
I've been in training for the past God knows how many years.
You're doing the whiskey training, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Yes, and they have piping competitions as well, and Highland dancing competitions, which are taken incredibly seriously as well. And there's actually quite a little village that sets up around each of the major Highland Games events, in particular for the dancers. And they get competitors coming from all over the world. At Inverary, we had them from Australia, New Zealand, Canada, America, you name it. They were from there. So big gathering. I reckon that day there must have been about 10,000 people estimated turned up for the games that day. Wow. So it was quite something. Yes, great spectacle, and as Scottish as you could possibly get it without the shortbread.
And what makes it Scottish as you possibly can get it?
Well, just about everybody's in kilts. It's in the middle of the Highlands, and the pipe bands and the bagpipers of the competition, the Highland dancers, and in the heavy events, all the competitors wear kilts. They are allowed to wear underpants for that as well, because obviously when they're crawling around at that, a little bit, the crown jewels could be seen.
And Ian, have you gone to see these ever in your life?
I've seen it in times, because I worked in Scotland for 7 years. But in those days when I was in Scotland, and especially in Glasgow, anybody who was seen wearing a kilt at that time, and this is in the, it would be the early 1980s, was considered someone to sort of sidestep from, because at that time the SNP wasn't, they were seen as troublemakers more than anything, and so if you saw, you very rarely saw men wearing kilts in Glasgow at all. It was a very, very different type of city, to say the least. But I think, with all these games, as you say, that they were interesting at the time. I think it is a very Scottish thing, and it's when I look back on my time in Scotland. sometimes I think, should I have ever moved in the first place? Because it was a great place to work. It was a much easier place to work as well. I was working on for the Scottish end of the Observer Group with the Glasgow Herald and the Evening Times and Outram's. And so they were the ones who owned newspapers right across Britain. So it was a very good time in my life. And I think the best thing that I remember, apart from that, I had a house on a golf course, because in Scotland, moving from London to Glasgow, you could buy something considerably more for your money. But I think probably one of the best things that I had was that if I woke up late one morning, I could actually make my house to the office in 7 minutes.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, you couldn't do that now. Traffic has increased somewhat, but yeah, it is. So there's a different pace of life in our Scottish cities to the likes of London. I mean, London is a pretty chaotic place at the best of times. But yeah, you're absolutely right. You don't see many people wearing kilt in Glasgow. You see a few in Edinburgh, but I found that I will wear my kilt more often overseas than I will in Scotland. It's got to be a sort of a wedding or a funeral or something like that to wear a kilt here. But and even when I go to Scottish Parliament, I don't wear a kilt. People would look as he's a tourist or something like that. But when you go overseas, there's something about a kilt. In South Africa, I mean, it turned heads and actually got a lot of respect. So where I lived in South Africa, of course, there were probably more Scots there than there are in Scotland. But people did respect wearing the kilt. There's always the curiosity value of it as well. So and even in France, there's a lot of curiosity about a kilt. Everybody wanted to know what was underneath it. The age-old question. And I had all sorts of answers for that.
Show and tell.
Show and tell.
I think on an earlier show, I did wear the kilt for you once as well. I'll maybe do it again sometime. So I'll just say that in Scotland, people do occasionally wear a kilt.
Thank you. Yeah, we enjoyed that picture. The photograph, we showed it numerous times, I think.
Going up the elevator.
Yeah.
Oh, that was dangerous. That was.
Ian, have you ever worn a kilt?
No. In reality, one of my friends who is probably a good 6 inches taller than me and probably about twice as broad as well, one day he thought he was wearing a kilt. He was actually wearing a lady's tartan skirt. And he went to this function, and I saw the photographs afterwards, and you could see the look on people's faces, and they certainly didn't want to be photographed. that was for certain. So I mean, sometimes I think with all these things, I mean, I love the Scottish part of my tradition. Don't get me wrong, and I probably but it's very expensive to buy a kilt in the first place because it's a lot of material as well. And if I did, I've really got to find out, because my mother was Patterson. That was her maiden name, and she came from Aberdeen. But there were 2 types of Patterson kilts. And then, as Simon will know, there's a hunting tartan and there's a traditional ceremonial tartan as well. So you really have to sort of make sure that you're wearing exactly the right tartan if you want to be appropriate wearing the right type of kilt.
Oh yes, the dress code is very particular. I mean, with my own clan, MacDonald, then we've actually got quite a few variations of the tartan depending on where you're actually from. And then there's always the dress tartan, and there's the hunting tartan, and the everyday and all the rest of it. And the expression "the full 9 yards" came from kilts. because that's the amount of material you've got in a kilt, 9 yards. It's so it's actually quite heavy, and the pleats are laid in such a way that when the wind blows or anybody tries to lift up the hem to see what's going on underneath, you can't do it because the way the pleats fold back down again. No, you don't get a look in, quite literally.
That's really fascinating, because I always thought the whole 9 yards was some football term.
They use that for a game.
There's probably all sorts of claims to fame of the whole 9 yards, but certainly the one I've heard is it's and it goes back a long way, is for the 9 yards of material in the kilt, and if it's not the 9 yards, it's not a proper kilt. So it's
I don't know what's going on in Scotland though. If people are trying to look what's going on underneath the kilt.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, well, you just never know who's wanting to look. That's the trouble. Going down that elevator in Boston that day, though, was quite difficult, I must admit, because it had glass sides all the way down, and there were a lot of people down below just waiting.
Love it. Hello to Fraser Ramsey. Haven't heard from you in a while, my friend. It's good to have you with us today. Thank you. Greetings from Edinburgh. And also Gaffa, nice to have you with us as well. Special show, always keep the energy burning. Yes, that's what we're doing here. So let's go over to Ian. Any more royal news that you have for us today?
I think, as I say, at the moment, it's all going to revolve around Harry and Meghan, this week, because basically right now, I think I've said to you before, this is known as the silly season. So nothing else is happening apart from the whole of the planet on fire. Nothing new. The whole of the Mediterranean area where Helena's just come back from is on fire as well. And so, from a royal family point of view, apart from the Harry and Meghan story, nothing is really happening. I've got some wonderful images. I get some wonderful images sent to me at the moment, from the royal family, and that goes on our Royal Influences page on our Facebook page. But the one that really caught my eye the other day, and I'm sure it's artificial intelligence, is AI. Because I can't see Charles wearing a suit quite like it. But there was this beautiful image the other day with him wearing this canary yellow suit, Charles, and he's also drinking, God knows what he's drinking, but it's bright yellow as well. Now, I assume, I have to say, that Charles hasn't gone totally trendy at the moment, and has started trying to sort of connect with the younger audience by wearing these very snappy suits. I presume so. However, at the moment, I think with King Charles and Camilla as well, they're all fighting to get their share of the publicity and to be seen in the right light. So who knows, we may be seeing very, very snappily dressed a king and queen before too long in colours that would have been exactly the same type of colours that the queen wore. So if he starts wearing, cerise suits, yellow suits, green suits, similar to the queen, then we might see a whole new side of King Charles.
My goodness.
Yellow suit.
I don't even know how to respond to yellow and blue for King Charles.
I think the thing with artificial intelligence at the moment is that more and more imagery, I probably, because of what I do, I probably get something like about 40 or 50 royal images a day sent to me, and they come from all over the place. And the ones that I find most amusing that we're going to use on future American shows as well and our own shows, are quite strange. And I thought, and sometimes, perhaps affection can go too far, because I was given a centre photograph the other day, and it's the back view of Charles and Camilla. Okay, and I presume that this was just a moment of connection, but Camilla has her hand on Charles's bottom, and I'm thinking, what was that? Just or something? I don't know. I mean, normally the rule of monarchy is that they don't touch each other, and you certainly don't touch the king or the queen like that at all either. There was this very famous story about the Queen when she was in Australia one time, and the Prime Minister of Australia thought this was a very good idea to sort of take her around a whole groups of people, and he had his hand on her back, guiding her around, and the furore from all the royal correspondents, the commentators, the royal, avid royal followers about him actually touching the Queen was something else. And just a bit of royal protocol. Whenever you ever met the Queen, the reality was that she would put her hand out. You couldn't put your hand out. So you couldn't put your hand out to actually shake the hand of the Queen. The Queen had to put her hand out, and then you could shake her hand. And occasionally when as I think I've said to you before, when your wonderful President Trump decided to turn up late and give me a heart attack when I was on NBC one time, not turning up on time, and for me having 4 or 5 minutes of unadulterated hell as I was being told to just keep going, keep talking, and all I was getting was the front of the Queen. Or even worse, which was the hardest bit of all, was to explain to viewers in America why they were seeing the back of the Queen's head, and how I was describing how good her coiffure was. There comes times, I think in any royal times when these things happen, and at the end of the day, I think I've said to you before that Trump, when he finally turned up, and there was a guard of honor, and that's all I was supposed to be talking about. It was supposed to be a 2-minute Queen and Trump going down a guard of honor. That was it. That was my 2 minutes of fame on NBC. And basically, Trump turned around, left the Queen on the plinth, and walked down the guard of honor by himself. And the Queen had to come running round the side of him to catch up with him. And at 93 years of age, I said, the Queen is still able to do the soft shoe shuffle when she meets a president who doesn't understand protocol. So with protocol at the moment, it's becoming much more important again, I think, with the royal family. I think the thing that I'm noticing more and more right now is Kate especially is hugging people more. Now, whether this is down to Charles hugging trees, and so she's hugging people, I don't. But the reality is that she's starting to hug a lot more people, and this could be a competition, dare I say it, against Meghan, who hugs everyone. She's a big hugger, is Meghan. I can see by the sound of it. So protocol is changing right now, and the whole royal family is changing at the same time. So it's one of these times when you never quite know what the royal family are going to do next now. And as I say, I just, I swear to goodness that if I ever saw Charles in a canary yellow suit, I would have think, that's it, packed my bags and I'm off into the wild blue yonder, because to try and explain that to a global audience would be a nightmare.
That would be.
Cutting edge fashion, I guess.
Absolutely. At least, he is known to, when he's in Scotland, he tends to wear a kilt almost all the time. and he actually carries it well. It's not everybody that can get away with wearing the kilt. I remember once, somebody shouting when they saw me in the kilt and said, "Oh, last time I saw a pair of legs like that, they were standing in a nest." Almost cured me of ever wearing it again.
That's funny.
King Charles definitely, he can carry off the kilt very well. So, and there are those, as I say, who just really shouldn't even consider it.
What is the proper attire to wear with the kilt? Do you wear knee-high socks?
Yes, and you have on the side of them the flashes, and in the top of the sock you've got your ski and do. The ski and do, it's a knife. It was actually originally formed as a covert knife, so it was a hidden knife, and mine is extremely sharp. My son made it, which I'm very proud of my ski and do that he made for me, especially now considering he made the new state sword of Scotland now to replace the old one, which had got really well past its use by date. So there's a big ceremony with that just recently as well, when King Charles came up for effectively like his coronation in Scotland, where he accepted the Scottish crown jewels, and the new state sword was the first on the agenda, if you like. Again, protocol is the state sword is the first one to be presented to the monarch. So so you wear that, and you wear a sporran as well. And the sporran basically is because there's no pockets in a kilt, so it's got to be somewhere where you can keep your money if you've got any. And the mystery is a bit like the Queen's handbag. What do you wear? What do you keep in your sporran? So that quite a heavy belt that goes with the kilt as well, and then. Depending whether it's daytime or evening, and just the formality of the evening depends on the type of jacket you would wear. In daytime, it would be a tweed jacket, possibly with a tweed waistcoat to match as well. Invariably, it's Harris tweed, all created on the island of Harris. For the evening, there's various different types of jacket. Bonnie Prince Charlie is probably the most popular one, which is a black sort of short dinner jacket with silver buttons on it, and a black waistcoat as well, usually silk lapels. Or there's another one, which is the Montrose jacket, which is regarded as being the most formal one, which I've worn on several occasions. And it's the one I've got is a dark green velvet with silver buttons, and it buttons right up to the collar, almost in a military style. And then you've got the jabot, the flurry jabot thing that sticks out the front instead of a tie. So the protocol is actually quite strict on how you present yourself in a kilt, although a lot of people don't know it. And the other thing during the day as well, if it's a very informal occasion, then you'd wear a ghillie shirt. And the ghillie shirt, it's like it doesn't button down the front, it laces down the collar part, but there's a lot of room in it. It's actually a very long shirt. And the ghillie shirt, I mean, that the design of that goes back hundreds of years. And when in battle, the Scots, they would take the kilt off and just fight wearing their ghillie shirt. And there was actually a famous battle called the Battle of the Shirts, because all the Scotsmen were just wearing the shirts. And we won. Yeah.
That's all that matters.
I think we scared the opposition off. My God, they've only got the shirts on now. What happens if they take those off?
Oh my goodness gracious!
I have to say something about it. Do you know what? It's something, I don't know what Simon thinks about this as well. When I was young, many moons ago now, sounds like a cowboy movie. The reality were that shirt tails would probably reach down to your knees. Shirts were made longer. And then most recently now, I find most of the time that the shirts I wear these days are way above, where they were before. They're much shorter. Now, I want to put a plea out to shirt makers to start making longer shirts again. So if I can put that out on American TV, who knows that there might be someone out there who actually does make longer shirts, because I am fed up buying shirts these days and they just about cover, dare I say it, the nether regions, you know, you know, what has happened to the shirts that we used to wear when we were young?
I agree with you.
I wonder where you buy your shirts from. I mean, I wear a lot of Brooke Taverner and Peter Christian and Rydell shirts, and they have got long tails, very comfortable, particularly in the winter, because I'm fairly long in the body, and so I agree with you, Ian. The shorter cut shirts are just a nightmare because you move and suddenly this thing's up around your chest, and you think, and it gets a bit chilly. So the shirts which I have, I mean, this one here is again, it's quite a long shirt. So
you want to show us? Would you like to stand up and
here we go. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, he's gonna do it.
That's about as far as.
That's it. So we can't even see anything.
No, we didn't see anything. Darn.
We didn't see anything. All right.
They do make shirts, and I believe it's a British company, though. That's the new dress shirt where it's short in the front and it tucks in the back. And I'm just like, please don't do that. A nice dress shirt. Yeah. Have y'all tried those shirts out?
I mean, very shortly, we're putting together a new project at the moment. And so I've got a team of researchers who work with me now. And I sent them down Jermyn Street in London. And Jermyn Street in London is the place where royal appointment suits for men and shirts, shoes, you name it, anything to do with male attire at a very, very high level is made. And it's where, the royal family go for their different shoes, shirts, tie, couplings, whatever it might be. So I'm gonna find out whether or not I have to be very careful about the bawbees in my own sporran. I don't have the richness of salmon every night of the week, and I wonder how much that these shirts cost that that might reach down to my knees. So who knows? What you ought to do with Jermyn Street to get a few.
Well, that'll be a fun show to watch.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, but no, I mean, I like the shirts I wear. They are the longer ones, and quality is a thing that should last. So it's worth spending that little bit more just to get the extra wear out of it and longevity out of it. So that's what I tend to go for. If I can. This jacket, I mean, this is a lovely jacket, but I got this in South Africa. It's very lightweight because it's a lovely sunny day today. So this is why I've got this jacket on. There's a beautiful silk lining in it as well. So I like this one on a hot day. It's nice jacket to wear.
I like all the personal details we're getting on this episode, DIANN, don't you?
Oh, yes. And it's reminding me about even in women's fashion, like Chanel and Dr. Jacalyn, you've said it over and over with the quality of clothes that you purchase. It's better to buy something of a really good quality because it's long lasting. And it's also designed in such a way that the fashion doesn't go out. It's classic. And I really like that.
Yeah, I do too. Actually, on a show later today, we're interviewing the Vintage Contessa, and all about sustainability and giving new life to something that you already have, and then maybe you acquiring something somebody else already had.
There we are. You got the two vintage presenters at the foot of the screen just now.
On the royal side of the pond. I want to go back to what Ian was talking about, if we can have just one more second, Dr. Jacalyn. A protocol to me is so important. And sometimes here in the States, we've let protocol slip. For example, most sports team was invited to go to the White House, but the coach did not read how to dress appropriately. So the kids all came with open-toed shoes and wore shorts. They, instead of their Sunday best, and so they weren't able to meet the president and so forth until they went home and changed. But then they had to actually go shopping because they didn't, they didn't have any of those clothes with them. So I'm now, of course, ever since that made the headlines here, people are looking to see how to dress properly for the White House. And I just think if you're going to be fortunate enough to be with people of royalty and so forth, you need to study and make sure you know what you're doing. Because I remember learning even in high school, when you mentioned, Ian, that the Queen puts her hand out first. Actually, I had a teacher that taught us that, not that we were ever going to get to meet her, but explained the importance of why protocol needed to take place. I thought you might find that interesting.
No, it is, because I think, protocol, really what protocol is just good manners. It's respecting an environment, it's respecting people as well. And as I say, with the royal family, and I mean, there are lots of occasions when, I was photographing behind the scenes, members of the royal family. You didn't turn up in just a shirt and a pair of jeans or somewhere. Not unless you're a member of the royal family yourself. The reality is that it's respectful, isn't it? And I suppose, and I'm sure Simon would probably think the same. Our generations, and I'm sure the generations of yourself, Diane, and Jacalyn as well, we were taught respect.
Yes.
We were taught respect. We were taught that good manners make us the man, wasn't it? And the woman. And I think these days good manners sometimes just go by the board. And there was a case a few days ago, or a couple of weeks ago now. One of the people who I was working with on a royal project, and this is a young man of about 28, 29 years of age, and his girlfriend was with him on this particular occasion. And we'd come out of the location we were in, and when we were walking down the street, and for me, I will never allow a woman to walk close to the traffic. So I think it's a man's job to walk to the traffic, to the side of the sidewalk where the traffic is, and then the lady goes on the right-hand side of the man. And so I said, I stopped this girl straight away. Because her boyfriend had just gone running off, left her alone. He'd just gone running off down the street. I turned to her and I said, look, I'm really sorry, I don't feel comfortable. You have to walk on the right-hand side. And she said, she said, thank you. You are the first man in London who's actually done that. And she said, that's what my father would have done. So I think protocol, good manners, it's all part of just making people feel special.
Absolutely. Exactly. And
we used to teach that in school. It used to be an actual. I remember Mr. McCoy. Maybe we spent 15 minutes a day, but we had to learn manners, and we even had a whole class on how to answer the telephone properly. And we need to bring all that back. There we go.
I need to figure out a way to close out the show properly because we are over time, and the next one's coming up. So.
I get so carried away. I love this show.
That's okay. So thank you, everyone. Thanks for being here. We're going to close out with a sponsorship from our dear friend DIANN FLOYD BOEHM, and then we will be back next week. So please do join us. Our next show is coming up. It's Global Social Entrepreneurs. Thank you again for being here. Thanks, team. Good seeing you all.
Take care. Bye now.
Bye, everybody.
DIANN FLOYD BOEHM's A Song of Peace tells the story of a young lad named Tommy whose fervent wish for peace on earth touches the hearts of his friends and family, spreads to his community, and eventually unites the whole world around making his dream of peace a reality for everyone. Sit down with the children in your life and share Tommy's amazing story of love and hope. Sing your own song of peace and invite the children to join you. Tommy's tale is more than just a story. It's a movement, and everyone's warmly welcome to take part. You'll find A Song of Peace, along with many other wonderful learning and enriching opportunities for children of all ages, at DIANNFLOYDBOEHM.com.